Alright, hi. 335 speed sensing alternator. These tasks test removal, disassembly, cleaning, inspection, repair, assembly, and installation. Initial toolkits, tool SC4940997CL, E12, material parts, dry cleaning solvent. To test if the locomotive does not transition before removing the speed alternator sensing alternator, perform the following: A connected positive lead to the multimeter TB1M and negative lead TB1K. Operate the locomotive speed where transition should be placed approximately 10 to 15 miles per hour. The indication on multimeter should be 10 volts of AC or more. If 10 volts of AC or signal present in the TB1, the transistor relay panel is probably defective, and if no more single present, speed sensing alternation is probably defective. Warning: high voltage using operative equipment, do not be led that the low voltage potentials as low as 50 volts may cause death. Remove rings, braces, wristwatches, and neck chains before working around locomotives. Jewelry can catch on equipment, cause injury, and may short across the electrical circuit, causing a severe burns and electrical shock. On electrical equipment cabinet door, the battery switch to open. Open the electrical equipment cabinet board and put the battery switch to open. Alright, third, remove the lock wire, remove the 4 cap screws, lock washer, flat washers, and cover and gasket from the terminal box. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And tag and disconnect electrical wires 7 and inside terminal box 6. Disconnect the conduity nut 8. And remove the conduity 9 and electrical wires. Remove the 6 cap screws, lock washers 11, and 12, flat washers 12. Remove the speed centering alternator 13 and gasket 14 of the traction motor. So remove these bolts around the traction motor. And 14 is your traction motor. The disassembly and remove the 7 cap screws and lock washers, flat washers, and cover 18 and gasket 19. Tag to disconnect the wires from the coil stator 27. Remove the locking screw, flat washer, use puller and rotor, and from the shaft of the bearing assembly 33. Remove the 4 screws, lock washers, flat washers, spring clips, and remove the stator 27. Drive out the 2 roll pins in 28 and remove the spade 29. And flexible coupling number 30. Remove the 4 screws 31 and retaining ring 32 in the inside housing 35. Remove the shaft bearing 33, oil seal, and from the housing 35. Remove the pin from the shaft bearing 36. Cleaning, inspection, and repair. Warning: dry cleaning solvent PD 680 is toxic and flammable. Wear protective goggles and gloves and use only well ventilated areas. Avoid contact with skin, eyes closed, and don't breathe vapors. Do not use near open flame or excessive heat. The flash point of 100 or 138 degrees Fahrenheit is becoming dizzy or getting fresh air. Get medical attention immediately. If contact with eyes, wash your eyes out and get medical aid immediately. Compressed air or cleaning purposes will not exceed 30 psi. Do not directly compress air against the skin or use goggles with a full face shield. Use the cloth dampened dry cleaning solvent. Remove the grease, oil, exterior, interior body of the other metal part. Or it's dry compressed air. 14. Inspect the metal parts for crack, breaks, or cuts or other damages. Replace damaged parts. Use a multimeter measure coil resistance. Resistance should be between 34.4 and 83.5 ohms. Inspect the stator rotor for chipped and cracked epoxy. Inspect the flexing coupling and see if the cracker has been stretched out of shape. Check it and see if the oil seal 34 is worn or has been leaking. Inspect the spade 29 to see if it's worn or fit loosely on the axle. Inspect the shaft or bearing assembly for excessive play and remove the burrs on the shaft, particularly around the roll pin hole. Assembly. Install pin 36 in the shaft bearing assembly 33. Install the oil seal in the housing and check the oil seal is flush with the housing bore with a rubber edge with the seal toward the outside housing. 22. Install the shaft bearing assembly in the housing and check the bearing shaft for the back against its housing. 23. Position the retaining ring and install 4 screws in the housing. Install 24. Install flexible coupling spade and on the shaft bearing assembly into 2 roll pins. Position stator in housing. Position 4 spring clips. Install flat washers and lock washers and screws. Press the rotor on the shaft bearing assembly. Install the flat washer locking screw and tighten the lock screw to 30 pounds an inch. Check to see the notches in the rotor hub and gauge roll pin inserted in the shaft. Connect the wires to the coil stator. 27. Remove the tags. Position the gasket and cover the 18 on the housing. Install the 7 flat screws, lock washer, cap screws, and lock wires. Lock wires to the cap screws as a group. All right. Installation. Position the gasket 14-speed sensing alternator on the traction motor. Check to see that the spade is properly engaged and drives half the traction motor. Install the 6 flat washers. Install the 6 flat washers, lock washers, cap screws, and tighten the cap screws to 33 and 2 and a third 3 pounds, 33 to targeted 3 pound-foot torque. Lock cap screws pairs feed the electrical conduit and wires into the terminal box. Tighten the conduit nut and connect the electrical wires to the terminals. 31. Position the gaskets cover on the terminal box. Install the 4 flat washers, lock washers, cap screws. Tighten the cap screws to 65 or 1.5 pounds.